The Arab-Israeli conflict is one of the most enduring and complex rivalries in modern history. Despite repeated efforts and multiple wars, the Arab states failed to defeat Israel militarily. Understanding this outcome requires examining the historical origins of the conflict, the outcomes of major wars, the involvement of other powers like the Soviet Union and North Korea, and the contemporary dynamics that have transformed Arab strategies. So guys, why do Arab states keep losing to Israel? Let's see what happened. The roots of the conflict go back to the early 20th century, when both Jews and Arabs began laying claim to the same land under British control. With the rise of Zionism and growing Jewish immigration to Palestine, Arab opposition intensified. The 1947 UN partition plan, which sought to divide the land into separate Jewish and Arab states, was rejected by the Arab world. When Israel declared independence in 1948, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, and Iraq immediately launched a military intervention. However, the First Arab-Israeli War ended in a disastrous defeat for the Arab states. They were plagued by poor coordination, logistical failures, conflicting agendas, and outdated military structures. Israel had a unified command, stronger morale, and better use of its limited resources. The war solidified the new state's existence and displaced hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, deepening Arab resentment. In the years that followed, the Arab states rearmed, reorganized, and prepared for future confrontation. The 1956 Suez Crisis was a brief but revealing episode. After Egypt nationalized the Suez Canal, Britain, France, and Israel attacked. Though Egypt ultimately emerged politically empowered due to US and Soviet pressure on the invaders, the military balance remained unchanged. Now, let's go to 1967. The Arab states suffered their most humiliating defeat. In the Six-Day War, Israel launched a surprise preemptive strike that destroyed the Egyptian, Syrian, and Jordanian air forces on the ground. Within 6 days, Israel had captured the Sinai Peninsula, the Golan Heights, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. The Arab military alliance was once again undone by disorganization, slow mobilization, and over-reliance on Soviet weapons without mastering their use. In response, Egypt initiated the War of Attrition from 1969 to 1970. With Soviet backing, Egyptian forces challenged Israeli positions along the Suez Canal. Although Soviet pilots and anti-aircraft units were deployed, the conflict ended in stalemate, revealing that Soviet involvement could bolster defense but not guarantee victory. Still, Egypt and Syria prepared for another round. In 1973, during the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur, they launched a coordinated surprise attack on Israel. Egyptian forces crossed the Suez Canal and breached the Bar-Lev line while Syrian troops attacked the Golan Heights. The initial gains shocked Israel and the world. The Soviet Union immediately began an airlift of arms and supplies to support Arab forces, while the United States did the same for Israel. Eventually, Israeli forces recovered and pushed back the attackers. Though the war ended in a military draw, it restored some pride to the Arab world and laid the foundation for Egypt's eventual peace treaty with Israel. Throughout these wars, Arab states relied heavily on military and logistical support from the Soviet Union. Moscow became the primary supplier of tanks, jets, artillery, and training to Egypt, Syria, Iraq, and others. However, Soviet aid had its limitations. The quality of Soviet weapons often lagged behind Western systems, and the political control Moscow maintained over its Arab allies constrained operational flexibility. More importantly, Arab armies often lacked the training, discipline, and morale to effectively integrate these weapons into coherent battlefield strategies. Many Soviet officers privately criticized Arab command structures as being politicized, rigid, and incapable of independent decision-making under fire. An often overlooked contributor to the Arab war effort was North Korea. Driven by its anti-imperialist ideology and alliance with the Soviet bloc, Pyongyang supported several Arab states, especially Egypt and Syria. During the Yom Kippur War, North Korean pilots flew MiG-21s on Egypt's behalf and even engaged Israeli aircraft in combat. North Korea also helped Egypt develop its ballistic missile capabilities in later decades. But, like the Soviet contribution, North Korea's support was small in scale and could not offset the broader strategic challenges faced by the Arab militaries. So why did Arab states repeatedly fail to defeat Israel? The answer lies in a combination of structural, strategic, and geopolitical factors. First, there was a profound lack of unity among Arab governments. While the rhetoric of pan-Arabism was strong, in practice, rivalries between countries like Egypt, Syria, Iraq, and even Jordan undermined efforts at coordination. Each state had different national interests, political systems, and military doctrines. Joint command structures were often nominal and quickly collapsed in the face of operational stress. Without a unified strategy, even large numbers of troops and weapons could not translate into victory. Second, Arab militaries consistently lagged behind Israel in terms of military professionalism. Israel developed a highly capable and integrated armed forces system based on conscription, advanced training, intelligence superiority, and battlefield innovation. Israeli units were smaller but more mobile, more autonomous, and better led. On the other hand, Arab forces were plagued by politicized officer corps, outdated tactics, and poor logistics. Many Arab soldiers were conscripts with low motivation, and corruption in procurement and command seriously eroded effectiveness. Third, the role of foreign powers tilted the scales in Israel's favor. While the Soviets were committed to supporting the Arab states, their involvement was never unlimited. The US provided not only weapons and funding but also critical intelligence, diplomatic protection, and strategic coordination with Israel. The US airlift during the Yom Kippur War helped Israel recover from initial setbacks and regroup faster than its enemies anticipated. Of course, Israel's deep ties with the West gave it access to cutting-edge military technology and economic resources that the Arab states, many of which had weak economies, could not match. After the 1973 war, a shift occurred. Egypt, once the leader of Arab resistance to Israel, signed a peace treaty in 1979 in exchange for the return of the Sinai Peninsula. This move split the Arab world, with some condemning Egypt and others quietly rethinking their own approach. The idea of defeating Israel on the battlefield began to give way to diplomatic, economic, and political strategies. Over time, more Arab states opted for de-escalation or normalization. Jordan made peace with Israel in 1994. In 2020, the Abraham Accords saw the UAE, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco normalize ties with Israel, signaling a major shift in regional priorities. Contemporary Arab governments now face new calculations. Iran is viewed as a larger threat by many Gulf countries than Israel. The Palestinian issue, while still important, no longer unites the Arab world as it once did. Some regimes see benefits in technological and economic cooperation with Israel, especially in fields like cybersecurity, defense, and water management. Additionally, the rise of internal challenges such as unemployment, authoritarian instability, and extremism have made confronting Israel militarily seem like a diversion rather than a necessity. Yet, despite decades of defeats, many Arabs continue to view the conflict as unfinished. The Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories, the status of Jerusalem, and the blockade of Gaza remain highly emotional issues. But the tools have changed. Instead of tanks and fighter jets, today's struggles are fought through diplomacy, social media, international legal systems, and economic leverage. In conclusion, Arab states became unable to defeat Israel due to a combination of fragmented leadership, military inferiority, over-reliance on external powers like the Soviet Union and North Korea, and Israel's consistent edge in strategy, innovation, and international alliances. As the geopolitical environment shifted, so too did the methods of resistance. Military defeat gave way to political maneuvering. What was once seen as a zero-sum regional war has now become part of a broader globalized competition for influence, legitimacy, and power. Yes, time to share your opinion. Why do you think Arab countries cannot defeat Israel?